welcome to our meeting. I've got a few books we're going to read today. I've got Doxie and Fozzy Bear on the couch because it's a little wet outside today, so we're doing it inside instead of out in the backyard today. So we've got a new YouTube channel too, so if anyone misses a session, they can catch up and listen to the stories there too. So that should be fun. It's called Doxie, Fozzy, and Friends. I picked out a few different books that I thought would be good today. The first one is Madeline, Finn, and the Shelter Dog. But Madeline Finn is the main character. And it's basically about helping shelter dogs. So we have a lot of people right now that are adopting and fostering dogs with all this going on. So I thought that would be appropriate for our current time here. Put this down just a little bit. Okay, so Madeline, Finn, and the Shelter Dog by Lisa Papp. Fozzy Bear was a shelter dog, so I get very emotional with this story. You know, he grew up to be pretty good, pretty good. All right. I ask Mom every single day, in the morning, in the evening, even when we're out, and finally she says yes. Hello, Madeline Finn, Mrs. Dimple says when we arrive. Your mom says you're ready to pick out one of Bonnie's puppies. Yes, please, I say, but first I give Bonnie a big hug. Hi, Bonnie. I'm so excited I can't decide which puppy to choose. I love them all, I tell Mom. Why don't you see if someone picks you, Mrs. Dimple asks. So I close my eyes and think of the name I picked for my puppy. Star, I whisper, and the littlest one crawls right into my lap. Woof, he says, real soft. It worked, I say. Is this how you chose Bonnie? Not quite, Mrs. Dimple says. There are lots of ways to find animals. You know what a shelter is? I look at Mom. A shelter is a place where animals wait for good homes, she says. Like a hotel, I ask? Sort of, Mrs. Dimple says, except the animals want homes where they can stay forever. They need forever homes. How many animals are there, I ask? Do they have snakes? It's not a zoo, Mrs. Dimple explains, but there are lots of dogs and cats. I volunteer at the shelter. Bonnie comes too. Why don't you join us sometime? Can we, Mom? I ask. We'd love to, Mom says. Before we go, Mrs. Dimple says, Madeline Finn, you have a new job now with lots of responsibilities. Then she tells me everything I need to do, like walking Star and feeding him and making sure he has a safe place to sleep. But the most important thing, she says, is love. I love you, Star, I say when I feed him. I love you, Star, I say when I read to him. I love you, Star, I say when I tuck him in. It's okay, Star, I say when he has an accident on the floor. I love you. On Saturday, Mrs. Dimple invites us to the shelter. Thank you for the donations, a lady tells Mrs. Dimple. Then she smiles at me. My name is Miss Ivy. Would you like to meet some of our animals? Yes, please, I say. Hi, I say to the first dog I see, but he doesn't even wag his tail. The sign on his cage says his name is Mr. Chips. We meet lots of dogs and cats, and even some bunnies and birds. They all need homes, I ask? Miss Ivy nods. She seems a little sad. I think Mr. Chips is sad too. Mom, I ask when we get home, do shelter dogs get to play outside? Probably not as much as Star, she says. Do shelter dogs get to sleep under blankets? I'm not sure, honey. Mrs. Dimple said love was most important, I say. That's right, dear. Mom, does anyone tell the shelter dogs that they love them? Mom is quiet. Then she gives me a big hug. Maybe you can show them. The next day, I rummaged through our linen closet. The sign at the shelter said they need towels, I say. Can we bring some? I bet they would like that, Mom says. Miss Ivy is happy to see us. Thank you, Madeline Finn, she says. These will make soft beds for the animals. But when I leave, I notice there weren't enough towels for all the animals, and Mr. Chips still looks sad. Before bed, I practice reading to Star. Then I whisper in his ear, I love you, Star. Woof, he says, real soft. When Mom tucks us in, I say, Star loves when I read to him. He sure does, sweetie. Mom, yes, dear. Does anyone read to the shelter dogs? In the morning, we talk with Mrs. Dimple about my new idea. Then Star and I spend all week collecting towels and blankets from the neighbors. I make special signs and Mrs. Dimple helps me hang them in the library. Saturday, 10 a.m. Come read to the shelter animals. Bring a blanket and a book. On Friday night, I can barely sleep. I'm so excited. When Saturday comes, I'm ready. So is Star. But when we arrive, it's just us. Nobody else came, I tell Star. Woof, he says, real soft. I'm glad you're here, Miss Ivy says when I hand her the blankets and towels. Why don't you get started? I sit by the first dog. We're both a little nervous, but when I start reading, she wags her tail. The next dog perks up his ears when I read to him. Even the cats around the corner are listening. But after my 5th story, I'm still the only one here. I don't have enough books, I tell Miss Ivy, or enough blankets. I know, Madeline Finn, she says, I know. Then I hear footsteps. Bonnie comes first. Behind her are lots of kids with lots of books and lots of blankets. Sorry we're late, I hear a parent say. There was a crowd at the library checking out books. Miss Ivy shows everyone how to sit with the dogs and read to them. Pretty soon, the shelter looks like a library. Did everyone get a story, I ask Mom. I think so, sweetie. And a blanket? Almost, Mrs. Dimple says. Take a look. I peek around the corner. Mr. Chips didn't get a blanket. He was going home in one. Mr. Chips found a new family today, Mrs. Dimple says. He's getting a real home, Mom says. A forever home, I say, and Star lets out a giant woof. The end. Yeah, I like that book because it kind of reminds me of how I got my Fozzy Bear. He was a shelter dog too. Doxie was a rescue, so that's close. Huh. Did you guys like the story? They look very cozy. So our next one I wanted to do was called Stuck in the Mud, The Adventures of Frank and Mustard. And it's by Simon Calcavecchia. And I actually met this guy. He's a very nice guy. And he signed my book. To Doxie, you are awesome. You hear that, Doxie? Yeah. He does these Adventures of Frank and Mustard stories, and he actually also has his own YouTube channel too, where he does a lot of books and stuff for children. And because it's a little wet outside, I thought Stuck in the Mud would be appropriate. Frank, let's go check out that trail. Yeah. I see butterflies. Mustard! Frank! What's wrong, buddy? I am stuck. Grrr. What are we going to do? Oh! What do we do now, Frank? What do you think, Doxie? Do you think he should get some help? Yeah, I think so too. I don't know, Mustard. I have an idea, Frank. Hold on to this, Frank. Got a rope. Stretch. Ka-sploosh. What are we going to do now, Mustard? Oh, looks like he has another idea. I will be right back. Frank, I brought some help. Well, where are they? Look, they are down here. Sergeant Ant, at your service. Bunch of army ants. Let's go, troops. Heave ho, heave ho, heave ho. Mustard, I am still stuck. Hold on, Frank. I'll come back with more help. Frank, meet my new furry friends. We are Rotario, Rotundo, and Ratismo. Mustard told us you need some help. Let's try this again. They're very fancy rats. Heave ho, heave ho, heave ho. I am going to be stuck here forever. Hold on, Frank. We just need a little more help. Looks like he's got another new friend. Hi, Frank. I'm Mr. Oinky. How can I help? Mr. Oinky, please help me get out of this mud. Heave ho, heave ho, heave ho. Hooray, we did it. Great teamwork, everyone. Have some free ice cream. The end. And then there's a picture of where they were in the story. All right, good job. What do you think? Is that a good story? Yeah? Fozzy Bear, can you get out of there? Oh, good boy. Yeah, that was good. Okay, well, you guys want to do some artwork next? Yeah? Okay. So we've set up our Paw painting studio right over here. I'm going to take off his scarf just so we don't get paint on it. Huh. And they can be messy sometimes when we paint. but that's okay. And we have some canvas board here. You're ready to go. All right. So when Doxie does one of these paintings, he mixes it together with his feet. So we always find a plate or another piece of paper or something where we can put the paint on it. And then he puts it on the canvas. We're going to start off with this one because it kind of looks like sunset colors. So we've got pink, got purple, and we've got white. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. When I do one of these with a big group, where he's doing a lot of different paintings. Oh, now we've got everybody interested. All right, Fozzy, your turn will be in a second. Lay down. Okay. We have, basically we use Doxie like a big stamp. And he can paint the pictures like that. But since we just got a couple pictures to do, let's see if he'll paint it on his own here. All right. And you say, put your paw. Good, put your paw. Come on, put your paw. Put your paw right there. Good job. Good. And put your paw. Good job. All right, put your paw. Come on, right in the paint. Put your paw. There we go. Put your paw. Right here. Good. Very nice. All right. Turn this around so you can get to the spot where you didn't reach before. Okay. Try it again. Put your paw. Put your paw. Right there. Come on, put your paw. Good. All right, put your paw. Come on, Dex. Put your paw. Put your paw. Good. Over here. All right. How about right there? You missed a spot. All right, let's see. I think you can do one more right there. Can you get it? Can you reach it? That's pretty good. All right. Now there's the masterpiece. Good job, Doxie. Good boy. Okay. I am going to wipe off his feet here so he can go back on our blanket. And then it'll be Fozzy Bear's turn. Of course, after all this, we will be getting a very big bath later today. And this is non-toxic paint, so if you want to do this with your pets at home, some of them like it more than others, but we just use tempera paint, so non-toxic washable paint. Okay, put your bandana back on, Doxie. We'll see if Fozzy Bear wants to paint a picture next. All right, Fozzy. Boy, oh, take off your bandana here for a second. All right, sit. Good job. We'll do some darker colors here for Fozzy. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I love you too. I love you too. Okay. Now Fozzy sometimes forgets what he's supposed to do and tries to lick the paint, so I have to kind of be careful about that. Good boy, good job. Good, very nice. Okay. Good. Oh, that was very enthusiastic. Good job. Put your paw. Put your paw. There we go. Good. Good job. Put your paw. Put your paw. Good. You got me. There we go. That's better. Good job. All right. Looks very, very angsty. That's good. Oh, and I see we have a canine friend watching us too. That's cool. Can you say hi to our friend? Good. All right. Good job, Fozzy. That's a very nice painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is they both, Fozzy and Doxie, have Facebook pages, and I will put these pictures on there. So if anybody wants to print out one of the paintings for themselves, you are more than welcome to do it. Otherwise, they will go on the wall. We have quite a few Doxie and Fozzy paintings on the wall already, but we love color in here, huh? Yeah, color's good. And I think we'll go ahead and read our next book. And then we'll finish up with a little bit of drinking. I don't think I got all the paint off of Fozzy's foot right now, so I think we'll keep him on the ground. Okay. Doxie, you want to sit on the ground here too so they can see you a little better? Good job. All right. Oh, there we go. Let's go sit right over here. Okay. Good job. So we've been trying to do a few things for our older readers. So I've been reading Time Cat by Lloyd Alexander. And we did the first chapter of the last session, so we're going to do the second chapter now. It's about Jason and his cat Gareth, who is a black cat with a special mark on his chest, a white mark on his chest. And Gareth has the ability to take his friend Jason with him through to different time periods. So now we're going into Egypt, 2700 BC. Chapter 2, the sacred city of cats. A white sun, a green-blue sky. In a grove of palm trees, a temple rose at the end of a long avenue. Jason, with Gareth at his side, walked through a courtyard that seemed to stretch for miles. Why, we're in Egypt, Jason said in a hushed voice. He knew this with certainty, then wondered how he knew. He suspected that Gareth had somehow given him the knowledge. Jason saw that even his clothing was Egyptian, a length of white linen tied around his waist. Perhaps this was all part of the cat's strange power. We've really come this far. We could have gone farther, Gareth said. But this is a good place to start, for a cat at least. The Egyptians worship us, you know, worship cats. Indeed they do, Gareth said. They're fond of us, just as cats, you understand. And they worship us too. They have all kinds of sacred animals. But the cat is most important. We're sacred to the great goddess Bast of the sun and the moon. In the distance, Jason heard the sound of flutes and drums approaching. Gareth stopped in front of a statue of Bast herself. Cat-headed, she wore a long, clinging robe. In one hand, the goddess held a sacred rattle, in the other a shield. At her feet crouched 4 stone kittens. Gareth leaped to the base of the statue. There's a festival every year here in Bubastis, he said. It's the sacred city of the cat goddess, and the ceremonies are very fancy. Get behind the statue and you can watch. I'll stay here. Gareth squeezed in among the kittens. With his tail curled around in front of him, his ears up, he sat motionless as a statue himself. The music grew louder. Worshippers began to fill the courtyard. Jason couldn't begin to count them, but he guessed there must be thousands. Lines of white-robed priests swayed along the avenue toward the temple. Some carried sacred rattles, others held staves topped by glittering golden statues of cats. Chanting voices filled the air with the hymn to the great cat. Thy head is the head of the sun god. Thy nose is the nose of Thoth. Thine ears are the ears of Osiris, who hears the voice of all who call upon him. Jason understood the language as if he'd always known it. Was this more of Gareth's magic? The music of the flutes wavered like pale blue streaks against the clouds. As the procession passed, the crowd followed after. Some were dressed in robes or skirts of linen. They carried great baskets of flowers and trays of fruit. The worshippers took up the chant. Thy mouth is the mouth of Atum. Thy heart is the heart of Ta. Thy teeth are the teeth of the moon god. The music and singing filled Jason's whole body as the hymn continued. Thy whiskers are the rays of the sun. Thine eyes hold the sun and the moon. Then it stopped, and there was silence. Oh, bless you. As if the top of the sky had been lifted off. All at once, a powerful voice cried out, Hear us, great cat, sayer of great words. The temple doors were opening. The worshippers streamed up the white steps. Finally, when the last of the crowd had passed, Jason ventured out from behind the statue, hoping to follow them. He had taken no more than 2 steps when something gripped him tightly and uncomfortably. Jason twisted around and found himself looking up at a white-robed, shaven-headed man who scowled angrily at him. With one hand, the man held a roll of papyrus, with the other, Jason's ear. Wretched boy, cried the man, reveal your business here. If you come to worship at the temple, why do you hide behind the statue? There were several scribes, Jason saw, all carrying bundles of papyrus scrolls or clay tablets. Just then, Gareth hopped down, and as soon as Chief Scribe caught sight of him, he let go of Jason's ear. Behold, behold this cat. On his chest he bears the mark of the sacred Ankh, symbol of life. The scribes dropped to their knees. Gareth sat down and began to wash. After the scribes had got through worshiping and Gareth had got through washing, the chief scribe reached into a fold of his robe and brought out a leather purse. My dear friend, said the chief scribe in an oily voice, forgive me for pinching your ear. I didn't realize you were accompanied by such a curiously marked creature. Tell me one thing, how much gold will you take for him? Sell my cat, Jason cried indignantly. Oh, crafty maker of letters, interrupted one of the minor scribes. It would be less expensive if we simply took this cat and left the boy in the care of the sacred crocodiles. The chief scribe stroked his chin and looked carefully at Jason. Your suggestion has merit, he said. I was, in fact, about to say the same thing. Oh, learned keeper of scrolls, the sub-minor scribe ventured timidly. Remember, the cat bears the sacred Ankh. It is a powerful sign. Who knows what vengeance he might take? My objection exactly, said the chief scribe. I don't know who you are, Jason burst in, but I don't think you have any right to stand there and talk about taking somebody's cat away and throwing somebody else to the crocodiles. I'm afraid, said the chief scribe, that you don't understand. For many months we have sought the one cat in all Egypt that will be able to please the mighty ruler of the great house, King Neterket. May he have life, health, and strength. Life, health, strength, shouted the minor scribes. Life, health, strength, echoed the sub-minor scribes. And so, went on the chief scribe, when we saw your cat and the mark on his chest, it occurred to us that he might indeed be the one. Under those circumstances, my young friend, we entreat you to come to the great house and allow the Lord of the 2 lands of Egypt to gaze upon your cat. Well, Jason said reluctantly, I suppose he could gaze if he wanted to, but that's all. Naturally, said the chief scribe, smiling blandly. No one would dream of forcing you to do anything against your will. All right then, Jason said, but don't forget, only gazing. Your head is full of wisdom, said the chief scribe. I can tell you now, if you hadn't agreed, you have very likely had to take your chances with the crocodiles. Yes, Jason sighed, that's what I thought. The scribes led Jason and Gareth to the river and down a flight of stone steps where the royal barge waited. Once all had climbed aboard, the oarsmen shoved off and began rowing at top speed. For several days, the barge skimmed along the Nile. Finally, Jason asked how long it would be until it reached the great house. Unenlightened boy, said the chief scribe. We have been traveling through it since yesterday. Lie down, please. Thank you. At last, the oarsmen docked at the riverbank. The great house, Jason realized, was a whole city in itself, with bakers, carpenters, brickmakers, weavers. Holding Gareth tightly, Jason followed the chief scribe to the biggest building of all. They stopped in the one hall filled with nothing but men marking on clay tablets. Here messengers never ceased hurrying in and out, shouting commands from King Neterket. In the space of a few minutes, from what Jason could hear, Neterket had declared 5 wars, signed 3 peace treaties, and ordered 8,000 stonemasons to begin a new pyramid. There was also a constant procession of slaves dragging in goods of all kinds. The scribes made a great ceremony of scratching down their tallies. The Egyptians, Jason decided, loved to count things. Nobody, as far as he saw, could do anything without mentioning quantities, writing them down, comparing, adding, and marveling at the totals. The chief scribe approached one of the clerks. In the records of the great house make this notation: this day to the possessions of the pharaoh, life, health, strength, there should be added 40,000 bushels of grain, 70,000 jars of oil, 3,000 ounces of gold, and 1 black cat. So it is spoken, said the clerk, so it is written. Oh, no, it won't, Jason cried. My cat isn't one of the pharaoh's possessions. It would seem, the chief scribe with a cold smile, that he is now. Before Jason could turn and race from the hall, the chief scribe scooped the bristling, spitting Gareth from his arms. Jason himself was seized from behind, hustled down a corridor, and most unceremoniously shoved into a tiny room. All right, so we'll have to find out what happens next to Gareth and Jason in Egypt later today. We'll have another session at noon. For chapter 3 is called Neterket. All right, boys. You ready to do some tricks for the very last part? Yeah? I think Doxie's ready. Okay. And since we are safely ensconced in our home, I'm going to go ahead and take them off leash for this part. So you probably won't be able to see me, you'll just be able to see the dog. So that's okay. That would be important ones. So last time we were talking about how you teach your dog how to sit. So you put the treat over his head, and when he rocks back, then you can give him the food here. Now we'll try lie down. So this one, you take a treat that they like, and you're going to go underneath their body, and as they follow that treat down, you kind of tuck it behind their feet, and as soon as their body hits the whole ground like that, then you can give them the food. So that's a good way to lure them into a lie down position, like that. And again, don't start off saying the word lie down. Make sure they get the motion first. And then when they're comfortable with that, then you can add in the word lie down, and you can add in a hand signal. So our hand signal for lie down is just like this. Lie down. Good. And of course, Doxie is doing it too. Good job, Doxie. All right. Over. Good job. Doxie, jump. Good job. Excellent work. Over here. Like. Stay. Let's see if Doxie will go through his tunnel. It's kind of stretched across here. And that's tunnel. Good job. And that's everybody. You're pretty. You're pretty. Good job. Excellent. How's it going to keep? Good job. Like that. Stay. Now Doxie's just showing off. Right, Doxie? High five. I wasn't talking to you, silly goose. Okay. Fozzy Bear is not nearly as graceful as Doxie is. He tries. Lay down. Lay down. Good. Down. Stay. Excellent work, boys. All right, let's see. Yep. Okay. Over. Good job. All right, that's pretty good. What do you think? Yeah, good. You good with that? Good job. Okay. Now we'll finish up. Boys, over here. With any questions from our audience here? They love kitties. In fact, Fozzy Bear wants to be a cat when he grows up. We actually have 8 cats at home. Dog interaction. But Fozzy, his absolute favorite is cats. In fact, when we got 2 kittens this past summer, I snuck them into the house. And I was very, very quiet because both my husband and mother-in-law were in the house at the time, and they did not want me sneaking in cats. But somehow Fozzy knew, and he was sitting just inside the door of the room. It was actually this room right here where I was sneaking in the cats and hiding. Fozzy Bear is 6.5 now, and Doxie is 10. He just turned 10 in March.
Nice.
Good boy. They probably know about 40 tricks each because we just have a lot of different things that they do. What they've been doing lately over at Wonder Valley Ranch, where I work, is they do full dog shows for people. So we have about a 30 to 45-minute show where I built this whole set, and they run up and down the set and they do different things. And the premise is that they are like an Old West sheriff. Doxie's the sheriff and Fozzy's the deputy, and they have to protect the Wonder Valley town from the bandits. So
nice.
They wear cute little cowboy hats and do all their tricks for the story. If I could fit the set in here, that would be good. I could do parts of it, though, I guess. I don't know we're quite that talented, but we try, huh? Yeah, they do love. But they are missing all their friends at the libraries for sure. Fozzy's favorite is when he's got 4 or 5 kids and they spread out all along his body and everybody's giving him a tummy rub at the same time. It's not quite as good when it's just mommy giving tummy rubs. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. Great to see you guys. Thanks.